Here are three reasons you struggle with tahajjud, and let's walk it through. The first one is insufficient sleep. The second one is inconsistent pattern, and the third one is friction. Let's go over those three reasons. The first one I mentioned, insufficient sleep. There was a day in particular I noticed this pattern. I woke up for tahajjud. After, like, I was not consistent in my tahajjud at that time. I woke up in the middle of the night. I didn't wake up to an alarm actually. I drank a little bit of water, so in the middle of the night, I woke up to go to use the bathroom, and then I got the idea. Okay, since I'm in the bathroom, I'm going to do my ablution and do the tahajjud. I went after I finished. I'm going to start with the ablution. I had like a kettle. I had to put water in the kettle, and I was just looking at the kettle. Like, my mind was just contemplating. Like, you don't understand the feeling. Like, when you wake up with very very few willpower, you start to contemplate. Like, there's nothing in your mind, but you're just looking at the bed. Like, I should go back to sleep. So that's how I was just looking at the kettle. I was just looking at it like this. My mind was. I tried to push myself to just. It's in hands to just grab the kettle, do the ablution, and just do the salah. Even if it's just a few minutes, I'm just gonna go back to sleep. I just was not able to willpower myself. I was not able to use any. I had almost zero willpower at that time. I tried, but nah. I just went back to bed. And after some time, I realized, okay, the reason I have like two full guides in my channel. One is on tahajjud. I have completely 3 hours of tahajjud, and the second one's on sleep. There's a reason I did that as the very first two full guides. That tahajjud full guide, in the full guide, I mentioned the sleep. Sleep is the number one biggest reason you fail tahajjud. Really take what I'm saying seriously. Like, I made a full guide on this topic. I know what I'm talking about. Sleep is the number one cause of missing tahajjud. Okay? When you have insufficient sleep, like I told you, I woke up in the middle of the night. What are the habits I did before sleeping? I woke up. Before I woke up, actually, I drank water, which is bad, number one. And I think this one is a scholar that was saying that you should drink water so that to make you wake up in the middle. No. To wake you wake up you it will make you wake up in the middle of the night. But the problem is when you wake up from the middle of the night to, for example, urinate, after you've done, you cannot use your willpower to do the Qur'an. So this is the thing I'm warning you. So I drank water, I ate food before I slept. I slept without making dua. I woke up in the middle of the night. I went to do my ablution. I was not able to use any willpower. The sleep. I slept around, was it 10? Was it 11? I think it's 10 or 11 p.m. I woke up around, was it 1:30? So the other how many hours? 2.5 to 3.5 hours. It was not sufficient sleep. And there's this culture in the internet like saying you should sleep less and then do it. For example, there was a debate. Like some people saying like sleep less, you use more time like for become a student of knowledge, and some people saying like no, sleep a lot and everything. And for a while I joined the people saying that you should sleep very little and then do Quran. But it was just hurting me. Okay, every single time I sit on the device in the morning, I just get so I'm gonna do it later on. That's how I've been doing. Okay, sleep is important. Actually, like, don't get me wrong. As you can see right now, it's like 3 a.m. It's like 3 a.m. I'm telling you, like the sun is setting, has not even risen. You cannot hear a single person up. Everyone's asleep. That's why I'm here. Like, when did I actually sleep? You need sufficient sleep. What I mean by sufficient sleep is anywhere between 3 to 4 cycles is sufficient for a night's sleep. Actually, the doctors say that you should sleep 8 hours of sleep. I'm not against that. What I mean 3 to 4 cycles is a cycle of sleep is about 90 minutes. Some can be less, some can be more, but generally around 90 minutes. So 3 cycles is actually 4.5 hours of sleep. It's not just 4.5 hours, half hours of sleep, because for sleep, what I found was the hours of sleep is not the same throughout the nights. Okay, in the full guide, also in sleep full guide, I did mention so many things, like the first part of the night is for deep sleep, it prioritizes deep sleep, and the last part of the night it prioritizes REM sleep. You're gonna watch the videos, like 2 hours video at your own convenient time. For the sleep, what I found is that from around after Isha, till around the middle of the night, around 12, 1. You get to, it compresses a lot of deep sleep at that time, a lot of it. That is why I'm able to, I woke up around 1 a.m. today, 1 a.m. And here I'm telling you that you need sufficient sleep. I slept 8:30. I was in bed 8:30, but I was like overthinking everything. And I was not trying to constantly overthink. My mind was just constantly jumping from this thing to this thing to this thing to this thing to this thing. And I was like, I was in bed, don't get me wrong, 8:20, 8:30. I went to my bed, I turned off the light, I put this like eye mask, I have it like right there. I put this eye mask, I closed my eyes. I even read, I was not able to sleep, my mind was just constantly going to certain things. But after like about almost an hour, I was able to sleep. I was able to calm my mind down, I was able to sleep. And I got me thinking like, what if I cannot sleep? And I would kind of help you with some ways to have sufficient sleep for the first part of the night. But bear in mind that it's not that I'm just on 4.5 hours of sleep. Don't get me wrong. When I said I had 3 cycles, I would definitely do 2 more cycles in the daytime. Minimum 1, 2, 3 cycles. I would not recommend doing 3 cycles in the day. Like, come on, how many hours do you have in the daytime? But I do have a way to put in 3 more hours in the daytime, so that is why I'm doing that. If you're not able to do that, I will recommend 4 cycles, because 4 cycles generally is enough for you as far as you sleep very early. So sufficient sleep, get sufficient sleep. Minimum 3 to 4 cycles. Minimum. I'm not talking about some people that will tell you they sleep for about 1 hour, an hour and a half, and they were able to charge you. Trust me, there are outliers. There are people that were able to do that, but like, you're hurting yourself. It's all you're hurting yourself. I'm telling you, just 3 to 4 cycles. Even the Prophet they said that he will sleep after Isha and wake up in the middle of the night. When you calculate that, that's about 3 cycles. And after he's done with Tahajjud, he will go back for another cycle, which is 6 hours of sleep on the night time, and then he will do his schedule and whatever and everything. This is side point. But get sufficient sleep. That's the first reason. The second reason is inconsistent pattern. And in around Ramadan of 2025, there was, I mentioned the story so many times in this channel. For the last 10 days, Alhamdulillah, that was the first month that I led Tahajjud for the first time. And we were doing 2 hours of Tahajjud from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. every single day. For the last 10 days, we led Tahajjud. And then I got the idea, okay. And I've been hearing so many scholars, they said that, so they, was it the way the sign your Ramadan is accepted is that you continue a habit. I said, okay, I'm going to continue the habit of Tahajjud because I love that Tahajjud. I was having so much khushu. I said, okay, since it's 10 days, I'm just going to continue. It's as if it's not even Ramadan. I'm just going to continue. I was only able to sustain that for the next 11 days, making 21 days in total. I was doing 2 hours of Tahajjud every single day, and then after Ramadan, I was watching this content. That is why I really want people against watching certain contents. I'm a YouTuber. I recommend watching my full guide on Tahajjud and sleep. From my own perspective, I would like to really help you, but I'm warning you because watching content has ruined my life so many times. I was watching content saying that some people talking about doing, for example, someone will say sleep after Isha for 3 hours. Like, I think was it Okash Academy. Yeah, I think that's his name. He said you should sleep after Isha, and then after 3 hours you should put an alarm, wake up 3 hours and do your tahajjud, do everything. Was all this he was able to say. He said that something that is not possible for us is possible for Allah and everything. I'm not trying to make fun, don't get me wrong, but I try that it's not sustainable. Like, some people can try that, you can try that if you want, but for me I would highly recommend stick to a consistent pattern, because I did try that. Don't get me wrong, I tried that. I woke up around 11, 12. Some days I would watch the content telling me that you should wake up on the last one night 3 a.m. I would do that, and I would become inconsistent in that, and I would change it again to 2 to 4, change it to 1 to 3. I was just constantly changing my routine, and that is why I was not able to sustain it for a long time. I was just constantly, today I will sleep early, tomorrow I will sleep late, tomorrow I was just constantly changing the pattern. And that's when you're constantly changing something. Like, I gave the analogy, imagine if there's a celebrity that was coming in town, and that celebrity was scheduled for him to come around 9 a.m. Everyone was so hyped up. Around 8 a.m. he would say, okay, no, he's gonna come 10. You're gonna wait. And then, no, I'm gonna come 8:30. No, I'm gonna come 1. No, 3, 1, no, 1, 5. You would not even want to attend, even if the celebrity came the other day, you're not gonna want to do that. And there's also this thing called circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is like a body, an entire clock. I really gave a good analogy in my sleep guide. Is that I use the analogy of this Minecraft clock. If you play the game Minecraft, you know this day and night clock. After I created published a full guide, I got actually a better analogy, which is the daylight sensor. The daylight sensor, if you play Minecraft, you know that when the sun is up, it's turn off the lights, and when it turn off the redstone signal, and when the sun is down and when it's the morning time, the signal turns on. And that's exactly the what I call circadian rhythm. It sees the light of the sun, it gives you lots, and then just make you think, okay, it's the daytime. And when the sun is out, your brain understands, okay, this is time for sleep. Imagine constantly changing that, and also like the time you sleep as well and the time you wake up, you need to be consistent with that, because your brain understands, okay, this is the time of sleep. And I feel that maybe if you have been consistent in your sleep, you realize that you will see the moment around that time, even if you're in bed, you start feeling, you start to yawn, you start to want to sleep, because the circadian adjusted and everything. So if you're not doing consistent, your brain will not adjust to that, and that's one of the biggest thing that made me fail my tahajjud. And the third reason is the friction. There was a video I watched, like I told you, I've been watching content. I would watch 5 to 10 hours of content per day in the past, and nowadays I watch like minimum about 3 hours a week, 3 sometimes more hours a week. Don't get me wrong, sometimes I even scale up to 7, but around 3 to 7 hours a week. But in the past I was doing like 50 to 60 hours a week of content. I was watching content. And so there was this YouTuber, I think he's Tom, he's a revert, he lives in Dubai. I think Tom J, is he different? I forgot. Just you can search him, Tom, like he's a revert, and he mentions that he gave a really good way to manage your time and everything as an entrepreneur, and a very good video. But he mentioned something like 3 to 1 rule. 3 to 1 rule. He said 3 hours before bed, no, you should not eat. 2 hours before bed, you should not drink. 1 hour before bed, you should not have a screen. And I was thinking, like, he lives in Dubai, he has his own freedom, he has the time to cook his food. I live in Nigeria. The problem I had at that time was that I do not control the time of to eat. I don't control that. Even till this day, I don't control that. And then I was thinking, like, in my, like, our house normally the food is done around, especially at that time it was done like around 8. Sometimes like these days it's like done around 7 at the dinner. But at that time it was done around 8 to 9 sometimes. And also I would go to madrasa, so I cannot eat food in the madrasa. I had to come back home. Sometimes the madrasa they stop us till around 9. And I was like, I want to sleep early. How can I eat food 3 hours before bed? I was just constantly like, it was just so much. It's either I don't eat completely, or I eat and miss tahajjud. And imagine if I eat from like 2 a.m., 2 p.m., like these days, like for last few days, I've been doing that. The last meal will be like 2, 3, 4, 5. That will be the last meal, and then I will sleep. But at that time, I was like, it's just so much. I would be so much hungrier at that time. It's like, and there was just a few days ago, like Hamza Ahmed, you probably know me, like the YouTuber, he did mention that like this hormone, like this ghrelin, just ghrelin, is hunger. It's not even real. It's just your brain giving you a signal that you need to eat food. You need to get some more calories in. And then he tells me he mentioned something that kind of broke my belief. He said that after like 45 minutes, the hunger is done. Like no matter how hungry you are, after a few minutes, have you observed? After a few minutes, you just not feeling hungry again. So I said, okay, fine, because if I eat the last food around 2 a.m. before I eat the second food, I'm like, for about 6 hours, I don't have any food, so I'm getting hungry, and I understand, okay, it's just grilling, just to go away. And nowadays, I'm able to do that, I'm able to sing that, but for the past, I was not able to do that. It was just so much friction. I had to eat, and whenever I eat before bed, because I believed him, actually, he did not, the way he explained it is different from the way I understood at that time. He just explained to get a good sleep, but I thought a requirement for good sleep, for tahajjud, is that you don't eat 3 hours before bed, and there's so much friction. 2 hours before bed, and 1 hour before bed, just so many things that would stop me. There's just so much friction. I also like, I have a big, for example, I must complete X amount of pages. Just so much friction. Like just remove that away. Okay, remove that away. Anything you do is progress. Like just have this mindset of anything is progress. Any progress matters. Even if you do a page of Tahajjud, even if you don't even if you don't wake up for Tahajjud, you just woke up and just do a istighfar. Take it as a progress. I don't know personally, I don't do that. But it's just I still progress. Okay. I mentioned like the first video I made in my channel 6 months ago was a story of Tahajjud, and in the video I mentioned that when you start doing Tahajjud, for example, you don't do it 0 times a month and you start doing 3 times a month, that is still progress. Some people will talk about like, you have to do the Quran every single day. Like, no. It's still progress. Progress is progress. So these 3 reasons: insufficient sleep, inconsistent pattern, and also friction. These are the biggest things that will stop you from doing Tahajjud. And if you want a more detailed video on Tahajjud, I have a 3 hours full guide. And if you want to enhance your sleep as a Muslim, I also have 2 hours sleep full guide. Other than that, I would like to end with humble quotes. Too much attention makes a donkey think he's a lion. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.